So we got two guys with us now from the band Dark Remedy. We got Cary Parsons and Stephen Miller. Welcome, guys. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for
What's
having
going on, Jay? We're happy to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Oh man, this is awesome. And so these questions can be divided up between the two of you because it goes, I start off with talking about your formative years. First, I'll start with Carrie. Growing up, uh, wrestling and Marvel Comics definitely played an integral part in your upbringing. Yeah, as much as music. Now, could you kind of explain when you were growing up how those two elements played a part in your
Well,
upbringing?
I get the Marvel comic thing a lot, and I think what you're alluding to is the name Mr.
Yeah,
Sinister.
Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, that so I've never said this publicly, but that actually wasn't related to Marvel. I mean, I was a fan of Marvel, but
Yeah, as anyone would be.
yeah, that was actually a gamer tag that I had when I was like 11 years old.
Oh, yeah?
And it just kind of stuck. And so we brought it in there. But yeah, wrestling, huge part of my life, music, wrestling, video games, basically since day one. They've all three of those things have always been there.
That's really cool. And Stephen, we'll take it over to you. What was your formative experience like growing up, getting into music and everything else?
So before I got into music, I was really big into drawing and sketching and stuff. So I would draw a lot of superheroes and things like that. And I was taking art classes, and it was through art classes that I started hanging out with the crowd of people who would eventually get me into band and stuff. So I started out playing saxophone in band, and um, then I started doing marching band, and that eventually led to playing in bands and picking up the guitar. And um, then you go through the whole point where you're hanging out with your friends in high school and you want to have a band and play the talent show, and you can't find a singer, so then you find out, okay, well, I guess I'll just do it myself. And that's just kind of how one thing led to another, and that's how I got wrapped up being a vocalist and a guitar player. It all started with just hanging out with the right group of people all that time ago. So
Oh, cool. So Carrie was probably eventually part of that group of people to get that connection going. Now, as far as when you two met, what was your first impressions of one another? Did you automatically like each other, or did you want to
I
punch
hated
each other? Yeah,
couldn't stand them. Still can't stand them. No, I'm kidding. We Man, I went to Steven. He got a name for himself in the Southeast Virginia area as being the go-to guy if you were a rock or metal musician and you wanted to record some music. So as a studio engineer and producer, he was well known. I had a band at the time called Sinister X. We were getting ready to do an album, and we went to Steven and I mean, geez, that's probably been is a long time ago, but kind of our first conversation, we just clicked, and it's
Oh,
been
that's good.
we musically we think along the same lines, we have the same work ethic, which, I think both of us found through our experiences in bands. That's one of the hardest things to find is work ethic in this industry. And we clicked on that level. We're willing to outwork everybody and just go wild.
yeah, just to piggyback off of what Carrie said, for me, what it was is when Cary came in to my studio, they were by far the most professional band I've had up to that point, and that left a really good impression on me. And so anytime he would call me, I would always pick up. So that's what started the relationship on my end as well.
It's really cool. And as far as getting Dark Remedy together, that was kind of a trying time as far as COVID happening right around that time, and of course, if you're lucky, your creativity can either plummet or spark. It can expedite the process, like when you spend all that alone time. And Did you guys benefit from that in the
Oh
same
yeah.
way?
Yeah, we did. I mean, from my experience, I was panicking when COVID hit. My band Sinister X, we were on a mad tear through the state of Virginia at the time, and we were rising and gaining traction very quickly. And that year was probably going to be a big year for us. And I'm watching anything that we thought we might have been doing just get wiped out. We were primarily a live band. So, I kind of thought, well, all right, so this is a bad situation and I can just wallow in my misery, or how can I spin this into something good and be productive with the time?
Right.
And, Steven was going through the same thing. His recording clients were canceling left and right. And,
Uh-huh.
we just had all this pent up stuff that we just got together and decided, hey man, we've talked about we should do some stuff musically together. I think now's our opportunity.
Nice, man. And then how did that name Dark Remedy come about? Was that between the two
That's
of you or the full band?
well, the funny thing is, for the longest time while we were putting music together and recording it, we didn't even have a name. We didn't know what we were going to do. It was just an outlet. And then when we started
Yeah.
spitballing names around, you know, it kind of clicked that, hey, we're in dark times. This band was our remedy for these dark times. So, Dark Remedy.
Yeah, yeah, perfectly said. That really fits, and it's cool also that um, pretty much right when you started releasing music, you got on the charts really quick. I was surprised to
Well,
see.
sort
Um,
of.
yeah,
So,
sort of, but in the same way, just it's amazing that you guys, even if it was a blip, it was still an impact nonetheless.
yeah, I mean, one of the weird things is throughout COVID, we released a bunch of music, sent it to distro, did distro ourselves on it.
Right.
And towards the end of last year, when we brought Paul Crosby from Saliva in as manager and we signed distro deals,
So he was kind of instrumental in that
yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah, part of the deal when we signed the distro deal was we had to take down all of our released music,
Oh
and
man.
basically it was a re-debut of the band. So it may appear like we came out of nowhere, but we've
But
been,
you'd actually been building
yeah.
up to that point. Oh, okay. Wow. So it's one of those instances.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we started getting really serious, I would say April of 2020, and we've just been kind of working in the background. Like Cary said, we would release a couple songs here and there, but it really wasn't until Paul came in, uh, we really had some firepower behind us.
Um, it's not that the music wasn't up to par. It's that when we were releasing it, we weren't putting marketing behind it. We weren't really doing anything with it other than, to our existing fan base, we would release the music. And so we realized when we brought Paul in that if we're gonna make a push for the bigger level, we need to have a more calculated approach to it. Um, and actually, some of that music that we recorded and released during that time, we have gone back, revisited, and retooled. Haunted, which is our second single that we sent to radio, that's a perfect example. That was actually the first song that we recorded and released as Dark Remedy. Because of the way that we push each other, I mean, you can't help but to grow. And it's done in a healthy way that we're just trying to make this thing better and better and better. But I look back at occasionally I'll watch some old live footage of me and know where I'm at now versus where I was at then, and I'm like, oh man, maybe I should remove this from the internet.
Oh man. But ultimately, you guys, you're very good, I guess, in terms of how you coordinate things. I mean, that meeting with Paul Crosby must have been like a blessing in disguise. You know, with everything going on, you'd think naturally like COVID would stunt the process of everything, but it's good that you guys in general have built a solid team.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul was the game changer, and it was one of those things that I sent him a song and said, well, Steve and I had decided that we knew if we're going to go to the next level, we need some help. And I just shot him a song, said, check it out. Didn't really know what was going to come of it. And he emailed us back like immediately and said, let's jump on a phone call. So, I got all excited. I called Steve and, oh my God, he wants to talk to us like right now. and off to the races we went. And yeah, we have definitely assembled the dream team.
So you guys have you co-produce with each other, right? You actually work hand in hand with each other. Like, is it kind of like a balanced process, or sometimes like if you're not feeling up to it, like one guy handles the dominant process of it?
So it's different every time. The only thing that's the same every time is Steven does all the engineering. He
He's the
is,
whiz kid.
yeah, he's the logic guy. I have no clue what I'm doing in there. I can do enough to demo out stuff, but in terms of release, no. But in terms of the songs and how they come together, every time it's different. Sometimes I've got a hook that sparks him on something. Sometimes it's the other way around. Sometimes he comes to me with something fully formed, and then we work it backwards from that point. It's really different every single time.
As far as like the song ideas, like I was saying, like with the color schemes and everything, do you feel that that's like kind of an afterthought that kind of takes shape over time, or is that also like part of the process, like looking at certain color schemes, absorbing them, and like how can we translate this into music?
No,
Uh,
we that's absolutely intentional.
yeah, it's completely intentional. I'm slightly synesthetic, so all the color
Yeah,
schemes,
yeah, me too. I have synesthesia too.
so all the color schemes that you see for our materials for the songs are based on the kind of colors that I would see working on the song.
Right. That's really cool. Uh,
Yeah, I appreciate you noticing that.
yeah, it's really cool, and the fact that I can relate to it too. It's like leaps and bounds, because and that I don't know. I believe in good connections in general, because with us in what we're doing now, it's like I not only got Cary, but I got you, Steve. And so like we have this like opportunity to bounce these ideas like off one another.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also in terms of the direction, I mean, for your latest video, it's directed by Thomas Crane. And was he kind of on the same page with you guys in terms of what you wanted?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that guy is the epitome of a pro when it comes to what he does. And I like to give the director kind of the freedom of I don't want to tell them what I think it should be. I want to hear what they think it should be, what the song means to them, and then we see if it makes sense. And when it comes to Thomas Crane, we've shot two videos with him. The first one is Now or Never. The second one is yet to be released. That is the next release coming up. And it was the same on both of them. I mean, he just knocked it out of the park. That guy is just amazing to work with.
In terms of how both production processes, whether it's video and the visual aesthetics, whether it's you know, the sonic production, I think you guys, like I said, you have a really good thing going. And I think aside from the singles output that you have now, your style definitely works in an album context, especially if you were to slow down, because you have like very active, upbeat singles, but at the same time, I can tell with the aesthetics of your sound that there's a lot of room for like slower, kind of deeper cuts that you can really think on.
We have a lot. We have a back catalog right now of a little bit over 20 songs that we're just waiting for the right moment. And I can tell you where we're at right now. The past couple weeks we've been furiously writing and recording, and we're working on a body of work right now. However that shapes up, whether it be an EP, an album, or just a bunch of singles, we don't know yet. But yeah, I mean, we would love to get to a point, where we're at right now is we've just been attacking the radio with single, single, single. And, when you're doing that, radio wants a specific thing. We don't have, the stature yet to be able to flex and say, hey, here's a 5-minute song that's a little bit different than what you've heard. We kind of got to keep it to some parameters. So that's where we're at now. But we do have what you're talking about. We do have some of that, and we can't wait for the opportunity to get that out to the world.
Yeah, and you make a good point about radio, specifically rock radio. And I was thinking, kind of going back to the question about like the reception of your first two singles, Blood Money and Haunted. I was seeing like the activity on the what's called the secondary market charts. I see a lot of familiar names, but at the same time, there's a lot of indie acts charting highly, including you guys. So it's really amazing to see the spirit of rock in general kept alive, because obviously it's been like in a fluctuating state like for the last 10 years now. And back then it was really frustrating, but now I see like the climate's a little bit warmer for that stuff to get back in again.
I personally think that we're in a renaissance for rock right now. I think we're on the verge of a major rock comeback.
Yeah.
I can't remember a time in recent history where there has been so much good independent music out there. And if anybody's listening, I would encourage you, go check out some of your smaller venues that may have some independent bands coming through that you may have never heard of. They might just blow you away. Because that's what I'm seeing right now. I'm discovering new bands every day on the independent scene that I'm just like, holy crap, these guys are killer. It's very exciting times.
As far as like when it comes to kind of tinkering with the recorded output that you have now, do you give your songs like a certain gestation period where it's like, okay, I'm gonna work with that song, and if it's still in the vault for like 3 or 4 years and I haven't touched it, it's off the album, or it's off for release? Or do you believe in that sort of thing that happened with Rodriguez back in the 70s where he was like in obscurity, and then in the 90s like his stuff was picked up in South Africa and they were celebrating him, you know? So like in other words, like no song has a timeline before it expires.
That's 100% agree with that. It's all a matter of what you're looking to do at a certain time, and if this song might fit into this time period. Maybe it's something that we've been sitting on for years that, hey, this song would be perfect for what we're trying to say right now. And then we bring that back out. We never throw away songs. I mean, as writers, I would be lying if I said that everything we wrote was a hit, but there's even songs that we don't think are necessarily going to be radio hits. We've got some that I think are amazing songs, and there will be a time for them to be released.
And it's really cool that you mentioned that, because it's cool that both of you share that mentality, because recently I was watching Goo Goo Dolls, how in the beginning 5 of their albums tanked, and then one DJ discovered the ballad that they had, Name, or just like a deeper cut that they weren't otherwise used to, and all of a sudden that song became the song. So at any point that you guys have, it's like you never know. One of those deeper cuts that you have in the vault like might really make a big impact.
That's absolutely you a good song is a good song, and you never know how the audience is going to respond. Just
yeah, I mean, and it's amazing that you guys are really coming into form in the same way, especially with how you navigate production, the songwriting process, the aesthetics. It's really cool. And I have a good idea of what you're doing next. So that was the next question, but you guys basically have that in the bag. And would you say that at this point, the relationship between all the members of the band is a lot stronger?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're tight. All of us, between me, Steven, Paul, and Mexis. I mean, Steven and I talk daily. Paul and I talk daily. I mean, we're always in communication. It's a brotherhood.
That's really good. And branching off of that, when you consider your career up to this point, what would you say you guys learn, not only as musicians but as people?
Ooh.
So one of you can go, and then the other one could go if you want.
Steven, take the lead. I gotta think on that one.
So to do this, you have to have an insane work ethic, almost to the point where it's psychotic. And I mean, just this past week, Cary mentioned that we're working on a ton of music. I think I've maybe gotten, 4 to 5 hours of sleep every night because I'm just sitting in front of the computer, like trying to get this stuff done. But that's kind of the name of the game, if you don't have everything working in your favor, the one thing you do have working in your favor is what you can do for yourself in the moment. Like, are you gonna, put your shoulder to the stone and keep it going, or are you gonna just be like, oh, well, this is hard? So that motivation has a lot to do with it, and just keeping the goal in sight and not losing track of it. So keeping manageable and realistic goals every step of the way keeps it from feeling too overwhelming. But a lot of it is just being really steadfast in your work ethic.
You just say that that it's not impossible to see, like, not outright failure, but like times where you're just not with it. You're just not at your A game, and you kind of slump, but at the same time you feel like I can get back up again.
yes, it all has to do with consistency. If you can keep at it, and just never quit, there's really no way you can fail. You know what I mean? So like the old saying goes, like you're only as good as your last show. But if you never have a last show, then you know what I'm saying? You can just keep on going and don't let it get you down too much.
Yeah. Um, Cary, what have you learned about yourself taking all of this in?
A lot. I mean, it Steven said it pretty perfectly, but for me, I've struggled with depression and stuff throughout my whole life, and I can be my own biggest enemy and my own biggest critic, and I can struggle with something and throw my hands up and say I can't do it. And this has kind of
And
been that.
you've been there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I struggled with addiction for most of my life. I'm 9 years sober from alcohol now, so I've
Good
been down
man.
that road. But it's something you're always going to have, and there's always moments, even now, that I look and I'm like, oh man, there's no way we're going to do this, and then I'm like, oh no, I can't do that. We are going to do this. So, I have been the self defeating type quite a bit, and I've learned that we're able to accomplish anything if we're intentional, if we're just like Steven said, steadfast. And that's the great thing about Steven and I working as closely together as we do as partners, is we're able to pull and push the other one through. If one stumbles, all right, we got this, come on, let's go, and vice versa. So it is a huge learning experience.
That's really cool. And lastly, anything you'd like to say to your fans?
Yeah, we love you, like, unbelievably much. You guys are the best. We tell our fans that every day. We mean it. um Now or Never is in its second week of the radio push. It's going very well so far. This is our breakthrough into some major markets that we've never touched before, so we're excited for that. And I can tell you that the future looks very bright, based off of what we've been working on. Right before this interview, I was messaging Steven that I was just sitting here just rocking out to some of our new songs and going, man, I can't wait for the fans to hear this stuff. So we've got a bunch of exciting things in store.
And the last thing I'll say to piggyback off of that too is the fans and the music listeners out there really are the X factor for a lot of these bands. There's so many opportunities that we've had over the past year that would not have been possible without them supporting us and paying attention and just going on this ride with us. And it means the most. And for all those people like who have been supporting us so far, it does not go unnoticed, and we're very appreciative.
That's really awesome. Thank you guys so much.
And thank you for, without people like you who put us on, it would be much more difficult for us. So we appreciate everything you do for musicians as well.